Ready to go live, and we're live.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
Whoa!
Welcome to
Welcome
the
to
trip. What is this again?
this is single episode.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah, single
singles
single
episode.
episode. Okay, AK 7. That
Yes,
2 4 1. Yep, 7.
yeah, it's seven. So my name is Suimeng.
Yeah, Chilean.
And I am Tristan.
So yeah, so why it's called single? Actually, this is something like so. The history of Singles Day is because it's all one. It's also like in China, it's 光棍节 because it's the light stick, the luminous stick you use in stadiums and concert. So and it's all one. So in my case, it's a
Oh, it's not
Singles
actually like
episode.
the guang. The guang actually means bare or naked.
Yeah.
Naked stick.
In this case,
So
no. In this case, it's a multi-layer pun because 光棍 it
pathetic.
means single guy.
It's
Single
actually
guy.
supposed to be a really pathetic way to describe
Yeah,
a
correct.
single person.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
like how Asian culture you're supposed to get married. So yeah, they came up with a lot of
Yes.
really meaty kind of a way to describe a
Yes.
single person.
Yes. So, meanwhile, what's up with you guys? Anything interesting?
Nothing
Uh,
interesting from me though.
Event of Code is the most interesting happened to me.
Yes. I will show that
Absolutely.
later.
Yeah.
Let me show my other thing for now.
That also demonstrates how boring how not boring, how simple our life is.
Yes. So notice the cake. So this is actually very interesting because I built you know Project Gui, right? I've been talking about it since forever. Oh, AWS in the event, more of that later. So I actually built it. I show more of how I do it later. So I have it. Interesting because this looks like a tombstone and they see they take it as cake. Very interesting. But I will show more of that later.
Oh,
But
well,
I think
as a human, do you think it's a tombstone or is it a cake?
context
Why
matter because
why can't it be both?
Also,
Because,
you're holding that up. I'm also holding this one up.
so
Your wireless thing.
oh okay. I'm just fiddling. This on the mic so it won't be noisy.
Yeah, Chill Young, you need another one. You need this one as well.
So actually the theory of intelligence for human is we don't unless we do not know a thing. We only see one thing the first time we will actually have context. Almost everything have context, which is why we know something with 4 legs, even though we never saw a tiger before, we know that as an animal, right? Because we have the context of animal. So in this case, do I see that? Yeah, I have no context. I know I can eat it, so it's not a tombstone. So there's that. So artificial intelligence is more single, human are more complicated. But before I go to more crazy conversation, let's talk about events. Actually, we had a few events actually that's not listed. My bad. So the first one is this weekend. This weekend we have War Games Mine. This is actually a 24-hour CTF. War Games is a capture the flag competition for hacking and all that. It happens every year. So reasonably well known among the small community down here. So if you're interested, you can join them. And also there's also a Python Penang meetup, which I forget to add. It's an online meetup. You can check it out in Python Malaysia, Python Penang Facebook group. I'll share the link later. Because I put some stupid thing on Python. You know what? Let me add that. I think I should be able to add that. Python, yes. Do I have that? Yep. I don't have that. Oh, whatever. I forget to add the context. Oh well. So we had a meetup on Saturday as well this weekend, and I think that's about it until next year. Actually, we won't have anything until next year. Interesting. So yeah, that's all for meetups. So the next thing is our bus corner. So AWS reInvent actually happening. Is it happening or is it already it will happen soon? Do you know?
Which one?
AWS reInvent. Oh, okay. I didn't catch a lot of announcement other than this few. So the first one on my list is Amazon S3 for strong consistency. So this one is
With it.
interesting because I didn't know
it's
that
it's actually ongoing, so it's not actually it's
okay.
not ongoing. So there's a lot of stuff coming up from Amazon.
Yeah, so you can go through here. So there's a lot of product and there's some announcement and all that. So yeah, I look forward to it because many people actually use AWS except me. I don't. I use it before for work. That's it. I don't actually own it. Interestingly, maybe one day. But the first one on the list that is interesting to me that caught my eye as the editor of DevKami. So the first one is strong consistency. So what I didn't realize is that Amazon don't guarantee consistency for S3. So now they have that. What it means
No,
is
it's not
that,
guaranteed. The consistency is there, but it's eventual.
right.
Yeah, it's guaranteed as
Okay.
in but as you write, you can read it. You can get the same data immediately.
Yeah, this is what it means then. Once you write, you get the same thing immediately after the latest version.
Yeah.
So you also work for list and all that. So yeah, interesting. The next one is so AWS now had a Mac instance. This is interesting because they actually put some physical Mac Mini as a server. The first thing I can think of is that you can use this to build an iOS application. Any other reason why you would want to use this?
Well,
Yeah,
so
I think they
this
just
so this is not something new. There are a lot of smaller businesses that actually
Yeah.
do exactly the same thing. So they actually prefer the Mac Mini, for example, because it's standardized and it's the same you'd use it basically like a server rack, right? So server racks
Right.
like one used
Right.
for you, they're all standardized, and so they have like a custom system with Mac Minis. It's easy to replace in those things. For example, Mac in Cloud is something like that, so you can do your build process, testing, etc.
Yeah.
on an actual Mac on the Mac
Yeah.
instance, and you
and
don't have to buy your own Mac Mini.
and you can. It's not like you have a choice as well. You have to
Yes.
do the building and testing on the Mac.
Correct.
Because you can't really
So
virtualize. I mean, you can virtualize, but it's very buggy. So it's just better to run it on an actual hardware.
correct. So also this is also interesting because Amazon tends to eat a lot of business. They have the resource and all that. That's capitalism for you lah. So
Yeah,
some of the
well,
small guys are a bit worried.
yeah, it just means that there has like I'm sure Amazon looked at these small businesses doing that, like how
Yep.
have they been doing, and they knew that this is something that's the business is increasing, and so they'd like a
Yep.
slice of the pie as well.
Yes. It's actually relatively common. Big software business have been there. IBM used to have their own Linux distro and all that. So yes. So the next one that's also interesting is AWS Lambda Granularity turned from 100 millisecond to 1 millisecond. So
They
it means
also
that you can
they also
squeeze,
increase the capacity of the Lambda instance.
right. So you can do more stuff, but you should also in this it also means you should squeeze your code as much as possible. So does it mean
So does
that
that the yeah? So
uh-huh,
does that mean an exodus from JavaScript Lambda functions to like something like Go or Rust Lambda functions?
maybe
I don't know,
can't
because I
tell.
think it's still under its own runtime,
Yep.
so it's not really running the code, right? I don't think they run the code directly.
Yeah.
Also, they don't
So
compile and run. You don't pre-compile even. Okay.
I need
it's the
verification.
response. This thing are charged by recursive response time, I believe. Disclaimer:
processing.
never use it.
Never use it. I'm
So the
not
processing,
really a
use
like
cloud
how
person.
long your Lambda function runs. So for example, if it's always returning the same value without any computation, then it's
Yep.
like the fastest, right? But
You
if
should.
you have
I
like some
think you should
processing,
just cache it, right?
Yeah,
you can. So
precisely.
yeah, there's a lot of things, but still you need to find out because these are all stateless, and so you need to
Yeah.
find out like where do you retrieve your cache, and that should be fast as
Yeah.
well. So
Correct.
that's why usually it's done for computations. You
Yeah.
basically massively distribute the thing, and if you have a pure function, which is like that point, right? If it's a pure
Yeah.
function, it only returns you the value from a given input. It returns an output. Then it's really just about optimizing that algorithm.
Correct.
Yep.
All your big O's matters.
Yep.
Big O's matter. Oh my god, this is horrible. I'm so sorry. This is horrible.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Next one. Because I make a horrible mistake. Docker malware is not common, so this is
Yes.
advisory. Because
that is why reproducible build is important.
correct.
So if
But-
the Docker file is not visible to you, I mean, expect less trust on that.
Yeah, precisely. So actually, once of old argument of why you should use open source software in the old days, but there's actually a but. Dennis Ritchie in the 1970s actually proved that what he do is he actually hide in a backdoor inside a compiler. So every time you compile code, you will actually get the same backdoor in the application. So it's so hard to detect. So the trust, even it's open, trust can go up to level. But in this case, you should really make sure that you know what
it's secure if you put in the resource to check
Correct.
things out.
Correct.
So
So
just take it as it is.
yes.
But the point of free and open source is that it allows you to look inside the source code.
Correct. So it make it one layer. At least one of the layer is better if you actually take the time to audit it. So that's the one. So yeah, be careful. Double check your Docker image and all that lah.
I think the same goes with any package you pull from the internet.
Correct. Or for example, your Node.js, double check on that. Your Node packages, double check on that.
Even your pip packages.
Yes, pip. We actually have that for pip some time back. So double check your spelling as well. That one is a bit horrible in so many ways.
Rejoice
so let's move
PHP.
on.
Rejoice
Those are
PHP 8.
packages. Yeah.
Huh?
No, wait, sorry. Aside from packages, there's also the CDNs. Like there is a danger of
CDN.
getting your CDN.
Correct.
It's not like generally you have to avoid all of this. Just you
You have to think about it.
understand the risk.
Correct. Your ops person exists for a reason. Listen to them. Sometimes they are responsible for.
That's why you have to. That's why you have to look at the compiler.
Yes.
There
So let's
was
move
that
on.
story long time ago about like when in the early Unix days about the compiler itself being the Trojan.
Yes, correct.
Like
So
compiling
it's by
in the
Dennis Ritchie.
backdoor.
It's by Dennis Ritchie, or was it Ken Thompson? It's the creator of Unix. So that's. So the next one is
No. Like someone's compiler, like someone made the compiler, and that one introduces a backdoor to every program that's
It's
compiled.
called On Trust. The paper is called On Trusting Trust. Reflection on Trusting Trust. Ken Thompson, 1984.
Yeah.
So this is the year I'm born. So don't worry about that. This is actually a bit of an advanced topic because in practice, there's a level. There's only certain things you can actually double check. Source code is one of the layer, and that mostly cover one of the case. If they're going to bug a compiler, it's a state actor. You're too late. I'm so sorry. I do not know who you make angry in the world, and we shall move on. If I go talk nonsense again, PHP 8 is out. So name arguments, attributes.
PHP is evolving. Unfortunately,
PHP is always
WordPress is still not.
I think you can
budging.
scroll down. They actually show you the performance.
Ooh, now safe. Okay.
Yeah. You see,
So there's a big performance.
Yeah, unfortunately, WordPress still doesn't take advantage of all of these things, right? And WordPress is like the most famous PHP
No.
program.
This is against both GIT, the JIT.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yep.
Ah,
It still depends on whether your code is secure and optimized.
Correct.
But you can
Correct.
see the overhead of this framework and system are huge.
Correct. Because remember this, WordPress and MediaWiki are very old software. It's very widely deployed, and sometimes you don't get to deploy on the most updated system due to various reasons. I know PHP is a bit weird, but
No,
in
it's
software
the
in
problem with
general,
PHP is that every the optimization is actually at the bytecode cage, because every
yep,
single time you run, you have to reevaluate the whole thing, because
yes,
it's stateless per request.
yes,
well, yeah. Again, it depends on how you do your thing on the server, right? If you have a long
correct,
running process, then it's like everything is. But then again, most web it depends on how you tune your web server. Like if
Yeah.
it was
yep,
still like mod PHP from Apache, then it is, yeah, you're going to have to reevaluate the whole thing.
Mm.
But if you're
yes,
doing something like F like I forgot PHP FPM or
Yeah, with
something like that, it's a
caching
long,
involved.
yeah, caching the bytecode,
Yeah,
long running process, copy and write, all of these techniques,
yep,
then
JIT,
it's
everything.
quite good. It's just that
yep,
like not a decade, 2 decades ago, that was the only way you can do it. Like because that's mod
yep,
PHP. That's Apache is
Quite
practically the
quite
only
good,
thing
but it's
there.
still
correct,
pretty pretty heavy to me.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But of course, the advantage there is that you don't have anything to worry about concurrency because
Yeah.
basically you
yep,
can't. I mean, you cannot do transfer
Find
of
the
memory between
find the trade-off.
requests.
No, I'm
yep,
still
correct,
using. I'm still writing producing new codes in PHP, so
Mhm.
it's just you trade-off.
Do you sorry for dwelling on PHP, but do you still do the it's like catting all of the PHP modules like WordPress is doing, or is there a new technique? So basically the way you do usually PHP before was you don't put the ending PHP bracket at the end of the file, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not the end of the file, and then you
yeah.
only put the end of the bracket like at the very last
I think that's
file that.
the convention these days.
Oh, it still is.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
interesting.
convention now.
yep. So let's move on because feature get lost and all that. Check that out
Unless
if
you're
you feel
doing
it.
inlining, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't do that. So next
Hey, it's
one,
fine. Inlining is fine.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the
It's not
next
really
one,
deprecating Docker support. It's just
no,
deprecating the Docker shim.
yeah.
So
So
no favoritism, basically. That's what
Yeah.
they're saying.
They're gonna
correct.
connect to what do you call it again? Let me scroll up. They're gonna connect to the container runtime interface. So as
Okay,
long
that's the one.
the CR,
Mhm.
so as long as Docker complies with that, then you can be run. So
No,
they no
as long as
longer
you have an adapter
yeah
that can talk to Docker, then it can be run. Which I guess what they're saying is that there used to be no reason to write this translation adapter
Mhm.
because Kubernetes had support for Docker because of Docker shim by default. But
Correct.
because there's no more favoritism involved, then Docker becomes just every other container that
Mhm.
yep.
Kubernetes supports.
Yeah. But the reality is because Docker are CRI compliant, so Docker should blah, blah, blah. So they already improved that. So is it already improved this issue, or it's wrong?
Mm,
Yeah.
the uh the Hacker News says that is that wait I'm reading it.
Yeah. While you're reading it, Navadeep Ganesh Yu says hi there.
I
Yeah.
So hello
Hello.
back.
Okay, I'm going
Yeah,
to move on
I
while you
think they're
find it.
gonna after this announcement, I think they're gonna need to do that.
Okay,
Well, they're not
cool.
immediately moving anyway. I'm sure they will only
Yep.
start moving everything, like as probably even deprecating it for completely
Yeah.
as soon as there's a stable CRI for Docker.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So the next one, this is actually a description of how do you build do game development.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
So,
This is not a tutorial,
yeah.
but actually an
No.
overview of the process.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the thing about game development is it's if you think your web development is heavily tied with the designer and all that, it's even more true for game development, which is why the game development environment have.
Let me share that.
So for example, yeah. So for example, Pico 8 actually have support to build your arts and movement and all that. The development environment is actually very integrated, more integrated than what we do. So your Unity engine would allow you to model someone. You even can import it, then you test it and all that. It's very, very integrated. Game development is very different. So yeah. If you want to interest how people build game, read this article. Very interesting. Pico 8 is also very interesting as a platform. So it's a virtual machine for you to build game. So it's mostly this game is mostly like pixel art and all that, and also the game is JavaScript-like, I believe. But oh no, it's Lua. It's actually Lua. So yeah, check it out. Something that that is very interested.
The story of the flow story.
Yeah, correct. So the next one, Slack have been scaling data stores with bytes. I do not know what the hell is bytes.
No, this is Vitesse or Bytes. I don't know.
I do not know how to pronounce it either.
It's actually it's a database for originally, if I remember correctly, from Facebook. Is that?
Yeah.
I need to verify. I need to fact check myself.
Okay. So
it's distributed MySQL in short.
Okay. TLDR that one now. So yeah, you were interested how Slack do their work on Vitesse. Check them out. I think they have enough detail for you to actually get started and all that. And we move on to the next one. PinePhone KDE edition is out.
Oh, it's
This
actually from YouTube.
Edition. Oh, okay.
Facebook is from YouTube.
Okay. Cool. So that is for Vitesse, not not this one. PinePhone is another thing.
Yeah.
The PinePhone is an open source, open hardware phone, right?
Correct.
It runs,
it's reasonably open. With it runs Linux instead of Android. So more importantly, it runs on Originally it runs on Ubuntu phone, I believe, and now I'm not sure now. So PinePhone tried to have another operating system, which is more open, as in traditional free software type of open, but on the phone. So if they instead of put it on top of existing Android on iPhone, they just make their own phone and sell it. Unfortunately, the company is coming in Europe, so support might be interesting. But the price is also interesting, but I don't think, knowing the open source community will be sold out soon. Like many things that happens recently.
Also, KDE been coming up, not actually coming up. They've been selling OEM laptop.
Correct.
With good what it's certified Linux support at least.
Yep. And KDE has some very good idea when it comes to widgets and all that.
But unfortunately, they are still with Euro focus.
Yeah, correct.
So, but there's been some discussion. If you catch up, is that the OEM laptops are actually sourced from China. So
which makes sense.
Yeah, so people actually find the source, and for other regions like Asia, they just order from China, but without any support and everything.
Correct.
Yeah, which is a valid business model, right? So you get the hardware, like you have the software, and if you have the expertise to join them together and solve your own issues, then sure.
Yeah, that's the same things that done by System 76 as well.
Correct.
So they just make sure everything works, and they did their own modification.
Yeah.
And And they provide support.
Correct. Because hardware and software is different in a way that software are reasonably for us to actually support ourselves. Hardware require more kind of support. And this kind of business model actually very similar to the quote-unquote traditional free software business model, in a way that you do the software, you do the support, you have add-on, you may sell the modification, or you do the support directly, or you may build the feature that your customer need, then release it as source code, etc. So in what Tristan described just now is actually a very traditional form of free software model. In this case, for hardware, which is more available nowadays. So let's move on. It's the longest bus corner that we have. Sales for acquiring Slack for $227 million. So yeah, interesting. Also interesting because they got more competitor now, but they have the initial. So I think that's actually there is one more. Anything to add? If not, we move on. Did I get connected? No, you guys are still there.
Yeah, this.
Okay, so
this.
so this one is a bit messed up, but the issue is also a bit more intricate, because in politics there's no reason to do anything at all, except in this case, the ship owners association actually won this, and they also want to control who can do what. Unfortunately, tech industry in Malaysia is that nobody likes it. So yeah, and usually in politics, somebody will push for this only if they have the support, quote unquote. So yeah, sucks for us. But if your representative are responsive, talk to them, write letters and all that. That's the minimum thing that you should do, because there's a citizen is a bit harder. So that's that. Anything to add? If not, I'm going to move on.
No.
Oh, this is the paper. Oh yeah, and
there's a lot of bus corner for this week because there's so many
correct.
things going on.
Yes. No, actually, it's more like because we have no topic today, so I kind of did filter of.
No, also there's a lot of bus corner.
yeah, there's usually quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's just that I've been filtered because if I don't do it, we don't actually get to cover our topic after 15 minutes. So 30 minutes we're off already. So let's move on. I'm going to call 2020. I know some of our guys already done. Shilong already done his. I already done mine. Tristan is busy, so there's that.
It's giving pressure to Tristan.
Yes.
No, I don't have anything. I had a lot of projects, but they had to be paused for a bit.
Yeah. So some of these problems are actually visible.
The main point is actually not the rank. The thing is that whether we can. It's like one of the exercise thing that you talk about.
Yeah,
we have to persist through 25 days of it.
Correct. So in fact, if you look at my solution, for example, it's not a hard solution at all. There's no fancy algorithm. Even though I plan to do binary search, but I didn't do that. I literally didn't do that. The solution are literally just this line actually.
Yeah. The point of I want to share a bit like why did I drop out from previous Theorem of code is that perfectionism. So I want to get the algorithm right in the first try. Then I missed the timeline. Then I see everybody completed it. Then I get discouraged. So for this year, I just stick to solving the problem as fast as possible. So and at least I finish it for this year.
Yes, that's the idea because no more fancy code. Even though I'm a bit guilty for the last 3 one. So for example, I try to really go through like for second day, I really want to do it in ON, but the thing is because I use two loop, essentially I think the first line they start from the first line to the last line again. Bad idea. That's how you get n squared. But this can be done in ON. But I decide against it. I just solve the problem because how everyone of code actually work is every one of us will get a different different input actually. I believe it's different input. And you don't actually need to show the code. You just need to show the answer actually.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
So if you can actually use your hand. But don't do that
one of
because
our community member, Ivan, is actually solving the by hand.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you may not want to actually do it. Let me show you the input. It's a long line. So in practice, you cannot actually do it by hand.
Yeah, you can do.
You can,
No, Ivan did it by hand.
you can do it, but I don't have the patience. So
It's gonna waste you a lot of time.
Correct. So it's easier to do it in programming and don't actually need fancy algorithm. So
And a lot of time the solution required are very simple.
yeah, correct.
It's just that sometimes we tend to overthink it.
Correct.
So my tips for advanced code is that the question is often simple. Don't overthink.
Yes. And also for today, there's actually things like there's opportunity for unit tests if you are into this kind of thing. So for example, there's a reason for this because I read the data by line. So there's a new line at the end and that actually messes up the numbers. So if I have unit tests, I will actually clean it. So as a software development competition, quote unquote, this is actually very cool because one, it's not really a competition, you don't get anything, but you get the satisfaction for learning stuff. And two, you can go crazy over it. And even though there is a leadership board, you can ignore it and just do it on your face. I hope I can show you one of the crazy things that people do. Goodness, here you are. Somebody built a solution in Factorial. So you can do that if you want to. So
Did they ever say that Factorio is Turing complete?
I believe it's accidentally Turing complete.
No, I think CSS is accidentally Turing complete, but I'm not sure if Factorio was designed to be Turing complete.
So Turing completeness means it's essentially a fully functional programming language. You can use a Turing complete language to write in a Turing complete language. And more importantly, you can use a Turing complete machine to simulate a Turing complete machine, which is why you can actually write a PC emulator.
You can build a Turing complete machine in Factorial, but on its own, it's not.
Okay.
So
apparently, Magic the Gathering is
Turing
depending
complete.
on the cards. Depending on the cards, so there are certain cards that can make a Turing complete machine.
Yes. So I recommend that you try it. It's really fun. Don't be a perfectionist about it. So some of us are already joined. If you go to Engineers Mic under the code channel, you will see that you will see leadership code. You will saw that. Join if you want to. No pressure. No pressure.
It's actually to share and have it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, correct. And I use Python just because my thing I should learn another language. It's actually a very good type exercise for that as well. So
I've been trying to use other languages, but for this year I just Python because I just want to get the answer out.
Yeah,
because
correct.
I want it to be at least my goal. I limit myself to just finish it for this year.
Yes, correct. So I think that's about it for everyone.
Like finish it, like attempt to finish it, or you have to get the right answer.
I don't think that. With my, I mean, according to my experience, the questions are not actually that hard. So it's just tricky. So they often don't require like fancy algorithm and stuff. Just that even brute force is okay. The data set is not it's not as big enough to penalize you. So do not overthink. Just come up with the answer. Yes, I can.
Correct.
What's the worst? I'll just hack up something to come up with the answer.
Yes.
No,
So that's the first step.
there is no prize. It's just something we play.
Yeah. And for the for the guys that actually listen, don't criticize people just because they don't use. They don't do it in ONQ or whatever.
Yeah. I'm shamelessly forcing every solution this year.
Yes.
So the point is, I never completed the past years. Just I want to complete mine for this.
Yeah. So okay, I think that's about it for admin of code. But sometimes I used to try to get more people from another community that didn't also that's but journalists and all that. So my next thing that I'm doing actually is I built the query. I actually change. Do a detour for Project Query. So
what project is it now?
It's still called Project Query, but this time I do training for hamburger, and cake. Right?
So Project Burger. Sounds like a good
Nah, it's still Project Query.
But is burger a sandwich?
So turns out that here there's a reason why I switch. Turns out that there's a reason why I switch to Query and all that because actually let me share my notebook. Actually,
are you not using the new
code,
notebook thing? You're instead
no.
there's a new one that we discussed, right?
Yeah, there's a reason for this because what happened is I'm not testing this locally. I'm testing this using Google's GPU because my GPU is actually a bit old. Actually, even despite that, I run this on Google's Colab. It still take me half a day, from 2 to from 11 to 5 p.m. or so. And I run and they kick me
And
out.
how many pictures is it classifying?
1,000 plus or so, around 2,000 plus photo, which is why it goes to what I want to show you guys now. So the reason for Quay is that it's an interesting data set for a realistic-ish application because when you do machine learning, more often you're actually testing for data set that may not be in public. So for example, Pond is public in a way that somebody already released something that you can use to test. Your factory equipment is more proprietary. Your the type of damage that you see in your manufacturing output is not always public, for example. So that's why it's a takeaway. You see, it's meant so that we can have something that is reasonably not so well known but global. But it's still a bit harder because setup and all that is actually very hard. So, and here's why. All right. So I take an example of a well-known carrot. Carrot is very well known, right? So if you see here, there's actually the picture, and more importantly, you got the annotation. So that's the yellow thing, lah. And the worst part is annotation comes depends on the model. Sometimes the annotation is more of something like this, a square. So label image is one of those things. Label image is one of those things that actually drag in image also. And so it's a lot of work because at minimum you need like a few hundred photos and you need to label your photo by hand, right? So I'm kind of a bit lazy and I need to find more query and all that. So I take a detour because data set, quote unquote, didn't matter as much yet. There's a caveat for that. But for now, we can actually try some open data set. So a good example of open is Carrot. Another one is, Google actually have this. Google API, they had a lot data set, 600 image, but they don't have everything. So definitely they don't have kue, they don't have steak, they don't have rice, they have chicken.
What about the carrot GUI? Carrot cake.
More of that
Chicken.
later. They have chicken, but they have no fried chicken. As in, all of them are alive, right?
And
Yeah,
this
right.
is not the
Not turkey.
square chicken, right? This is actually the outline of the chicken. So it's a very
No. Actually, not
determination.
true. No, not true. So the outline here is actually to tell the machine learning
Hey,
model
that's not a chicken.
where to get the picture.
Hey, that's a
That's
turkey.
not a chicken. That's the turkey.
That's a turkey.
Who is polluting this data set?
It's from volunteer. Google's own human.
No, that's not
thing.
that's not a chicken anyway.
So either
Some
way,
of them are probably like some of the chicks are probably not even chickens. Some of them look like ducks.
yeah. So either way, this anything within the border is actually the feature. So your neural network will learn the features. It can be color, it can be texture, it can be shapes like the feathers of a cockroach, etc. Right? So it can even be the crown as a feature, but you need to mark it. That's in this case you can mark it this way, but for YOLO, that's the machine learning model. They expect a square. So that's another thing. I have the tool. I downloaded the tool to actually convert it. But here's the thing about your machine learning work. A lot of it is still data labeling, and you take the effort. But in factory, it's reasonably.
That's most of the job that you have to do when you're training a model, right? Like sourcing good data sets. That's like cleaning them up and then ingesting all these things.
In industry, like farm or factory and all that, you can get it reasonably easily because people that would want this would have a reasonably big facility, be it a farm or factory, and those things produce a lot of output. Those would easily comes with few hundreds of image easily that you can actually use. So Gray is a bit harder in a way that you need to volunteer for it. So I will decide to do it later. But if you're but this is actually a good starting point because, for example, what I do is I choose like, is that cheeseburger? Oh, there's cheese. No, hamburger. Hamburger exists in this little universe, quote unquote. So you get all the burger. But something I need to do later is whether sandwich.
I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
Yes, which I highlighted.
Oh, wait. I can't see.
Says it's it right in okay. You might have to switch to the
segmented bounding box.
Jason asks, does YOLO work with segmented bounding boxes?
No,
so polygonal, you mean? Polygonal.
The reason, so YOLO, the format, I'm going to switch. I hope I can switch to my testing data. No, I have a much better idea. No, what happened happen of code? And let's see. .NET Wiki. I hope they actually show the format. Okay, so the reason that you must be a square or rectangle is because YOLO actually accept 4 parameters. Four parameters. I hope I can switch screen before blah blah blah. I'm thinking how. Okay, you know what? Let me shop this, sharing this screen. Control Shift T, VIM, blah blah blah, data, OBJ slash okay. Okay, here you are. I'm sharing my screen now, but I need to switch application. The short answer is they don't. The reason is YOLO as a framework takes 5 parameters in their data file. The first one is they actually have the first one is actually the classes. The classes will be like line of your class file. Second is this your top corner in ratio. So and top corner in ratio format. So it's like the percentage of that length also. So the short answer is no, because the data specified a square and a rectangle. So that's the short answer for it. You can't. So you must put it within the box, which is what happens is you need to. So let's say you have partial photos. Sometimes it's recommended that you ignore it. Sometimes I see people ignore it, but sometimes what you do is you also include it at the back, so that you can also recognize car, right? When they park behind another car. So short answer for Jason, no, they don't. So that's that. Now let me switch back to my screen. This is horrible. I hope I have. Okay, so short answer. This one is awesome if you have data set that you want to actually download, but you need to. It must be within the class that already exists. So it's very cool for testing your model. So because what happened then is that I'm going to show you a few things that I already done. So here's the step for you to actually set up your deep learning with .NET, which actually currently one of the more official implementation of YOLO 4. The first one is you need to configure your build, then you make it, then you download the weights, just simple command. Support function, not important unless you want to see things. And if you want to make a prediction, you can already do it. Yes, what's so funny?
Dude, Cairo is mentioned took a long time for the short answer.
Yeah. Yes. So what happened then is I'm from Windows. You can once you download the weight from the notebook I share, you can already make a prediction, because the YOLO .NET YOLO is tested on Coco dataset. It have 80 common item: person, car, dog, cat, bicycle, umbrella, etc. So you can already get like 80 items. So it's actually already useful if you want to have, let's say an example, let's say you want to have a CCTV that alert you every time somebody is in front of your gate, if there's a dog, etc. So you already can use that. And more importantly, you don't actually need to write code. It already exists. In fact, because this is notebook, you have to get the photo separately. If with this, you can actually show directly on the screen without overlay, which is, but there's a catch. The catch is the GPU that support is NVIDIA CUDA, but you do not need to use if you want to do inference. You don't actually need GPU. You can just use CPU, so you don't actually need CUDA for it. Training is another story. Training takes you up to. I literally spent 8 hours today to train this data set. I had to refresh a little before they kick me out. Google kick me out. But that is awesome for this reason actually. You can already do training and all that. You can already use. You can already do inference. So just now the step I tell you to actually set up a training, download, set up your make it, then download the weights, set up the data set. This is the hard part, and this is actually the longest part. If you have custom data set, more configuration. The configuration for this actually reasonably short. You can once it's done, it's done. Here you are. It's called food learning. Now I'm hungry. So text editor. So this is the classes that I support. In this case, 2 classes. Very easy. Configuration. Some configuration, part and all that. Where you put your trait file, where you put your test relative to the .NET binary and class names. Then the slightly more complicated one is actually your YOLO configuration. Again, once you follow instruction, this is the easiest thing. The hardest thing is still your some parameter you need to find out. Slightly tricky, but the documentation exists on this repository. I hope I share it again. Then once you've done that, it's a matter of waiting actually. Once you have everything in the right format, it's a matter of waiting. Download the wait for training, then you literally just run a test. 6 step, some configuration you do one time, which you need to find out what is suitable for you. And you just run a test, then wait for 8 hours or so. If you've got older GPU, then you can wait a lot longer. So yeah, then everything is about waiting then. So, and you get yourself a deep learning, that's how you run your training, quote unquote. And what you get from all this is actually, you get weights. So what happens is, because of neural network, what happens is when you train, you're actually adjusting the weights of the neural network layer by layer. So what you get from that is actually all the weights in binary format, which you can use. So .NET, every time training, they will actually give you a few things. Every thousands, they give you 1 update of weight. Then every time they do, every 100, they got the last training. But more importantly, they have the best. So they actually do comparison, get the metrics. It's called mean accuracy per something. It's called MAP. Then that's what you use to actually start to use for your application. So once you have that, once you have reasonable, then what you do is you just so remember the weight best that I use here. So do the command, get the weights, and test a photo. So in my case, you know what? Let me switch my screen again. I'm so sorry. This time I'm just going to share entire screen. Please don't crash. No. So cake, right? Height. So in this case, notice that I downloaded the weight, that and all that. So what I do is I copy the weight locally. This is my computer. I set a GPU. I don't think you need it, but and this photo that is safe to, which is actually safe to use. So I actually have proper test photo. It's under data, test. Yes, let's test a random one. I do not know what photo is this. It could be that animal. It could be porn. Unfortunately, this doesn't work, so they can't detect anything. Interesting. Let's test. Yes. I don't know what I'm doing. True story. I don't actually know what I'm doing.
Where did the data set come from?
Open image that I show you just now, lah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, because neural network.
I mean, you just save it. You just copied everything and you saved it to your
It's a
drive.
cake.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. So you can test it, lah. In this case, I actually download from that data set and I save as burger and cake. So the tools I use for that is called the Oid Toolkit. So this is actually a utility for you to download lah. So in this case, I provide install. So in this case, the example here, they use apple and orange. One example. So yeah. So what's the TLDR here? You want to do your neural network training, spend more time on data, because configuration for it is reasonably easy. It's reasonably easy. That once you configure, it's mostly a one-time work. Then just copy and use lah. So the only thing is this is not the best model because the last accuracy for this is like 85%. So meaning you have like 100 burger or cake, they may get like maybe 15 or 20 or so. No, they may miss 20 or so. So it's not great because your neural network nowadays you can easily get up to 90 plus actually. 90 plus. So yeah. So I may need to do the training again tomorrow or so. Let's see. So that's my misadventure of doing cake. Machine learning.
Yeah. Let's take
Nice.
a look at some of the comments from
Yes.
near the top. So Jason is saying about time more internet cables land in our wide coastal areas. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or something,
Yeah.
because
But
that news is about actually
yeah,
shooing away the internet cables.
correct.
Uh,
And one might thought that things like Starnet, what's the Starlink and all that. So the biggest problem
satellite
with
thing.
that is in theory, if you smuggle it, it would work, uh, but the Malaysian Communication Commission actually need to actually approve it. You need to go through two authorities, Theorem and MCMC, primarily MCMC. The reason is you do not know whether the frequency that they transmit actually affect local communication. So
Well,
which actually a problem.
the reception is fine. It's when you transmit back, like you
Yeah,
need to have a proper like radio frequency
permit.
like certification, because the strength of your radio transmitter
Yes,
might affect other things.
correct. That would be interesting to see if they allow it.
Yeah.
So and there is incentive in theory, quote unquote, but there are also a lot of incentive not to. So that's one. So for now, the best way to transmit data across actually C, and the way they do it, in my opinion, is a bit horrible.
Yeah. So Andy is also asking about life-size Gundam project that you were showing before.
Okay, I didn't show that because I think I love giant robot, proof of point, but
we had some argument in channel as well.
yes, the
What
argument here,
argument is this?
Like whether it's the most efficient way to kill people.
yes, actually there's a twist for that. Is giant robot even useful for industry at all? So the counter argument is the same. The answer is no, simply because
But they made a life-size Gundam robot in Japan, I think. I think this is what Andy was talking about.
that's the
one
Gundam
that-
RX-78-2. It's a RX-78-2 life size, 18 meter,
and actually
18
walks.
meter, and actually walks,
Yeah.
but not very cool, very interesting, not useful at all other than a PR stunt. But it's actually good for just one thing. It's very good at attracting fanboy like me to go there to pay tribute and pay money.
Mhm.
And that's about it.
Well, it did. Economically speaking, it did increase your satisfaction. So you got some utility
Yeah.
out of it, and so you have to pay.
Yes.
Economists will tell you
But
that is the price of happiness.
But my argument is a giant robot is not practical it's not useful for war and for industry. That's my argument.
I don't know if a country had like 10,000 Gundam
We can have-
robots, that would be a bit scary,
I think
right?
it's like
On your border. Yeah, that would
I think
be
it's gonna be
scary.
like the dinosaur. If everybody goes big, then there's gonna be a competition to go big.
Yeah.
Yes. But
if
there is
it's not Gundam, but if this Gundam transforms into like a fighter plane, that would be cool, like macro style. That would be nice.
I
it's
don't know
not
that
aerodynamical.
fun fact, I never watched any of this. So so I'm just guessing from the conversation what those things are.
It's not aerodynamical. No.
Okay, so Andy also mentions brute force is because we have strong
Yes,
CPU because of brute force.
but
True and false.
yes and no. Everyone of code data
Actually,
set is so small, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
So there has been a number of mathematical proofs that it's not about the pattern, or like it's a logical thing, like it's basically a like a proof that's done by deduction, but rather a
Yeah.
proof done by brute force. Basically, prove that
Yes.
this statement is true
Uh,
because you've scanned all the possible parameters,
but
and none of them are true, are like contradicting your statement.
so one of the first proof for that is actually the 4-color problem, or was it the n color problem? Was it the
No, I
3
think
color?
they haven't done the 7-color, I think, or something.
It's a so 3-color problem is actually it's you only need 3 color to actually cover the whole map in any
No, 4.
size.
You need 4 colors.
It's called graph coloring. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, at least 4. You can have more, which makes it easier, but the minimum
Yeah.
is 4.
It's 4. So the proof of that is actually done by computer on brute force.
Mhm.
So that's the earliest one. So it exists, but in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
case
but
of
the thing
uh-huh,
about mathematical proofs with brute force is that you don't really gain any insight. Like you don't
not
learn
true.
about the pattern. No, just because
Not
it's
true.
4-color, okay, this statement is true, but why is it true, right? There's no fundamental
Uh,
pattern involved.
yes, yes. But sometimes maths is about you have a simple solution for a simple case. Can you prove that so there's a postulate for Cementite problem. There's actually a postulate. So one of the most famous one is actually the Fermat loss theorem. The argument here is there is no round number for a to the power of n plus b to the power of n to c to the power of n if n equals to more than 2. So so the postulate here is it applies to all numbers, and that's a postulate. And
That's
what they do is
the hypothesis.
so what they
Postulate
do
is
is
like you cannot disprove it because it's a postulate, right?
correct.
That's a
So
statement.
yes, correct. Sometimes all you need is a visual proof is good enough.
Mhm.
So yeah,
So I think, should we wrap up?
Yeah.
yes, we should.
So I think we
we
have
can
our
continue on
topics.
with
We have
we'll
our
continue on
topics.
matrix multiplication as well, and some tensors and
Yes,
no? Okay.
We can continue on Gundam as well, or
Mhm.
big
yes,
robots.
yes. Maybe I cover some of the integration soon. Maybe next week
Yeah, and
for
this
Project
telling
Gray.
us to go off. Get
So
alive,
with that,
folks. Get
yes,
alive.
yes.
For sure.
Meanwhile, yeah. So meanwhile, I think that's all. So goodbye
Okay,
then.
that's all. So see you guys.
Okay, so
We're gonna
like, share, subscribe. We're on
we're gonna
Twitch.
be
We are
on
on
during Christmas Eve as well.
yeah. We
Yeah,
are on
we're
Twitch.
going
We
to
are
track
on YouTube,
Santa.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Catch us there.
Yep.
Click on like. It helps the
Yes.
algorithm. What else do we have to say?
Okay, somebody brought in Transformers.
None of it
Robo
works. Move on.
Robotech is a ripoff of Macross, of SDF
Oh,
Macross.
okay.
Of course, but
They're like there's two.
goodbye.
Don't mix them
Yes.
together.
let's bring in Cairo as well. Robotech.
All
All
right.
right,
So
that's
see you
about
all,
it.
people.
Yep.
Okay,
See you guys
bye.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.